Have you ever walked into a room full of strangers and felt your chest tighten, your mind go blank, and every word you might say feels like it could be wrong? Maybe you're scanning the room for a familiar face, pretending to check your phone, or hovering by the snack table just to avoid interaction. Um, if that sounds familiar, let me tell you something. You are definitely not alone. Here's the thing. This isn't just shyness, and it's not even about lacking social skills. What you're experiencing is a very specific psychological response, and millions of people feel it every day. Understanding it can completely change how you approach social situations. So picture this. You're at a friend's party. Music is playing, conversations are flowing, people are laughing, and then it hits you. You feel exposed. Thoughts start racing. Do I know anyone here? What if I say something awkward? What if they don't like me? And suddenly your palms sweat, your chest tightens, and your throat feels constricted. Psychologists would describe this as a combination of social anxiety and anticipatory stress. Your amygdala, the part of your brain that detects threats, basically sounds an alarm. Danger, potential social evaluation detected. Your body reacts as if you're facing a real threat, even though logically, you're completely safe. And here's the thing, most people don't realize. The intensity of this reaction isn't just about the social situation itself, it's about the mindset you carry into it. People who feel anxious around new people often share certain cognitive patterns. For instance, sometimes we overinterpret social cues. Psychologists call this hypermentalizing. A neutral glance or brief pause is automatically perceived as judgment. If someone doesn't smile right away, your mind jumps to, they must dislike me. Then there's catastrophizing, expecting the absolute worst case scenario. Thoughts like, if I say the wrong thing, they'll hate me forever, dominate your mind, and it keeps your body on high alert. And here's one that's really common, self focused attention. Instead of engaging with others, you monitor yourself obsessively. Am I smiling enough? Did I sound awkward? Did I laugh too loud? Ironically, this makes you seem less relaxed, which then reinforces the anxiety you're trying to avoid. Finally, many people engage in avoidance behavior. To reduce discomfort, they may avoid new social encounters entirely. And here's the kicker. Avoidance actually strengthens anxiety over time. Fear leads to avoidance, avoidance leads to more fear. Think of your brain like a smoke detector, but for social danger. It's hypervigilant. Even when there's no real fire, it goes off at a candle flame. Sweaty palms, rapid heartbeat, shallow breathing, these are normal survival mechanisms, but your mind interprets them as proof. Something's wrong. I'm failing socially. Let me give you an example. Sarah was intelligent, competent at work, and had close friends, but every time she had to meet new people, she would freeze. Networking events, group projects, even small gatherings. She dreaded them. Later, she would replay every interaction, analyzing what she said, how she sounded, and what she could have done differently. Then she tried a subtle mindset shift. Instead of thinking, I have to impress everyone, she reframed it to, I'm here to learn about people, not to be evaluated. And you know what happened? Her anxiety decreased. Her speech became smoother, and she actually started enjoying herself. She didn't become an extrovert overnight, but she stopped being paralyzed by fear. Now you might be thinking, I'm just naturally introverted. This won't work for me. Look, here's the thing. Mindset shifts don't erase your temperament and they won't magically eliminate discomfort. But what they do is change your relationship with anxiety. Instead of seeing social interactions as threats, you start to see them as opportunities to learn and connect. Your anxiety becomes a signal instead of a barrier. And yes, it takes practice. But once you understand the psychology behind your reactions, you regain control in ways you probably didn't think were possible. Here's where it gets really interesting. People who feel anxious around new people often develop hidden strengths that socially confident people sometimes lack. For instance, heightened empathy. Being sensitive to social cues allows you to notice emotions others might miss. Analytical thinking. Overanalyzing conversations when applied strategically can actually make you a better communicator. And preparedness. You plan interactions carefully, so when you do speak, your contributions are more thoughtful and meaningful. See, the very tendencies that feel like weaknesses can become hidden strengths if you channel them intentionally. So, how do you start? Here are some strategies you can apply today. First, cognitive reframing. When you feel anxious, ask yourself, what evidence do I have that this is dangerous? Usually, there isn't any. Replace thoughts like, they'll judge me with, I'm here to learn about them. Second, gradual exposure. Start small. Attend low pressure social situations. Introduce yourself to one new person at a time. This retrains your brain to perceive new social encounters as safe. Third, mindfulness and grounding. Focus on what you see, hear, or feel physically. This pulls attention away from self focused thoughts and keeps you present. Fourth, behavioral experiments. Test your assumptions. Initiate a brief conversation and see what happens. Most people are far less critical than your mind predicts. And finally, post interaction reflection. Instead of replaying mistakes, note what went well. Celebrate small wins. Over time, this rewires your cognitive patterns. Sarah started small. At work, she said hello to one new person each day. She practiced observing without judgment. She noted moments where conversations went better than expected. Over time, the catastrophes she anticipated rarely occurred. Her anxiety didn't disappear completely, but she gained confidence and a sense of agency she had never experienced. Here's something most people don't realize. Even small, consistent effort rewires the brain. Neural pathways associated with fear weaken, while those associated with calm engagement strengthen. Now, let's look at the neuroscience behind this. When you meet new people, your amygdala activates, triggering the fight or flight response. At the same time, your prefrontal cortex, responsible for reasoning and self control, can either regulate the response or be overridden by anxious thoughts. People who experience chronic social anxiety often engage in rumination, replaying past interactions, and anticipatory anxiety, worrying about future ones. Both intensify the perceived threat. But here's the good news: mindset work, cognitive reframing, and gradual exposure strengthen your prefrontal cortex, reducing overactivation of the amygdala over time. So, what can you do starting today? Reframe anxious thoughts, take small social risks, observe without judgment, reflect on small wins instead of mistakes. Remember, this is a skill. Social ease isn't something you're born with, it's cultivated. And your anxiety isn't a flaw, it's a signal, a guide, and even a potential strength if approached thoughtfully. Look, feeling anxious around new people doesn't define you. It's part of how your mind has adapted to perceive social risk. But with the right mindset, actionable strategies, and consistent practice, you can approach new social situations with calm, confidence, and curiosity. The next time you walk into a room full of strangers, remember Sarah, remember the smoke detector analogy, and remember that every small step retrains your brain and builds a stronger, more resilient you. You don't have to be an extrovert. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to start shifting your mindset, and in doing so, you'll unlock a side of yourself you never realized existed.